I wasn't sure, how it all worked, right, in terms of being a Christian. But at that point, I felt, God's grace. I understood how He operates, and again, I understood how David, how he was so raw, and so I allowed myself to just go deep raw because I wanted healing and wanted, something different.
So were you saying like some of those more angry psalm prayers? What kind of prayers were you saying? Or were you just being honest about
I was
everything?
just being honest. I was just saying, why did you give me this life? Why did I have to go through this? Anything I felt, any grudge I had, I laid it all out to Him. Like, why did you give me this life, this situation, this dad, this, whatever it is, like I just felt it was just unfair, and this burden was kind of too heavy for me.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Christ and Coffee podcast. Today, we have the honor of welcoming my friend Johnny Tang on the program to share his heroic tale of surviving the Cambodian Genocide as a kid. JT speaks candidly about the evil of the killing fields of Cambodia and how his family escaped. He carried the trauma for years in America, not knowing what to do with it, but it eventually brought him to a place of complete honesty and surrender to God, and God healed him. Even more remarkably, God led him back to the very place of his nightmare in Cambodia, where he transformed his pain into purpose through humanitarian efforts to teach the next generation there. But before we dive into JT's incredible testimony, I do want to read Psalm 13, verse 1. How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? Hey, JT, welcome to the Christ and Coffee podcast.
Hello, Pastor Haig.
How are you doing, my friend?
Do we call you Pastor Haig here, or
call me Haig, or Dr. Haig, or the Reverend Dr. Haig, or the very Reverend Dr. Haig. But you could, whatever you prefer. Yeah, I don't care.
Glad to be here.
I'm joking. Haig is fine, brother. Question before we talk into this very, very serious topic. How do you drink your coffee?
Well, I discovered chai latte, and I discovered dirty chai latte. So boom and boom.
What makes it dirty?
Well, it looks like they add a splash of espresso in there.
Okay.
Like the chai, and also the one you got me with the cardamom has a little bit of gingery type of taste. So I'm loving it.
Oh, great. I'm glad I was able to provide that. But yeah, no, that's good. So dirty means like a shot of espresso inside something that normally doesn't have espresso.
Yeah, it just mixes it up all up.
Okay, that's cool. Now you had quite the upbringing. Just to jump right into it. I mean, I don't know if there's like a easy way to talk about genocide. But I'm glad you're here. I know it could be tough to talk about this, but as someone who comes from family members who survived genocide, I know how important it is to record these stories, but also to tell people they're not alone, and also, more importantly, make sure they don't repeat historically again. And the more you're able to expose it, the better it is. So can you just tell me about the Cambodian genocide in a nutshell? Or
yeah, well, in short, was the militia guys got some guns from, I don't know if it's China or some other country. They're trying to turn the country to a communistic, agrarian type of society. Cambodia was, had a king and ruler type of thing. So eventually they overthrew the monarchy and took over the whole country. They turned the country into towns and compounds, and you would be corralled, and you're made to work the field. You would be separated into age group. If you're, I think 5-6 years old, you're starting to work. For me, I was right before that cuss. I was like 4 years old or so, 4 or 5 years old. So I was a tad young to start working. But my sister was like 5, 6. They go and have you work the field, dig and hoe or cut, whatever it is. And I can tell you more and more if you like, but so they they turn the different towns into community compound, and a leader would be running that particular township. And I'll drop the bomb here. One of the things that they do to kind of keep people in line, this is where the term killing field comes from. They would kill people every day just to keep everyone in line.
So fear tactic.
Fear tactic, and really just when you talk about the word evil, they take evil to many, many more levels. I don't fully understand this point. I'm still processing it and trying to understand it and wrap my head around it to some degree. But yeah, they would play mind games with you as well. They would ask they would get the town meeting in the evening, and they would grab one or two or a handful of folks, and they would play mind games with the communities and ask them, should I kill this person or not, right? And I don't know why they do this, but if they say don't kill, and ask for mercy, they would kill them. So they're trying to teach the people to turn against each other. Wow. So you have to say kill him, and maybe the guy would have a little bit of mercy and not kill him.
So it was really dark reverse psychology, evil.
Yeah.
And you're 4 or 5. I can't imagine. I mean, my son is that age. Just thinking that this is happening, like how to process that. I can't imagine what you went through. Mm. So that was just the beginning of this great evil that befell. And were they just who were they killing? Was it just random people, or was it systematic? And there was a logic behind it.
Yeah, there's a logic behind it. Again, they're trying to turn it into a farming community, a farming society. So they're getting rid of they're lopping the top off. Any educated person, if you wore glasses, if you had office hands, and they're also, the genocide comes from the fact that they were exterminating. I'm ethnically Chinese. Mm-hmm. Right? I was born in Cambodia. My grandfather came from China. My grandfather and his brother migrated from China to Southeast Asia. One brother went to Thailand, Vietnam. One came to Cambodia. Back then, it was very rich and lush. It still is, and Southeast Asia is very, very lush. Right. A lot of, you could eat off the land, live off the land. And China had gone through some hardship 100 years ago or so. So they're trying to turn into a farming agrarian. Hopefully that's the right expression. Type of society. And they were just killing anybody who wasn't of any use to this goal that they had. And they're trying to create a new philosophy, a new religion as well. There's this thing they call Angkor, which is Angkor Wat, right? Angkor, that's kind of like their new philosophy of living. They're trying to create this new, godlike, new society for them. Elevate himself. His name is Pol Pot.
Yeah.
For those who don't know.
So there was this classism, pretty much get rid of the educated class first. So a systematic approach to anyone who has their own kind of creative thinking that goes against this new philosophy that they just want to control everyone. So there was like emptying kind of any Western influence, any sort of intellectual influence, any sort of anything they can't control, pretty much.
Yeah, in short, that's probably what it is.
And were you discriminated because you were ethnically Chinese, or was that part of? Was there a racial element to this?
It's similar to the I share with people, similar to how Hitler was able to eliminate the Jews. We were kind of the blame for their plight.
Okay, because you were the foreign influence from China.
We're the foreign influence, and forgive me if I say this loosely, but we were a lot of the business owners and whatnot as well. So we were blamed a target.
Easy target.
Just another thing to eliminate.
Yeah. And so you're 4 or 5. Any direct family members get affected right away, or was it? No, this is gonna be tough.
You're dropping right into it.
Let's just
Yeah. No, it's good. Let's create the backbone of it. I did lose my oldest brother.
Wow.
So the top and the bottom we lost. My oldest brother, who was caught up in another town, and in short, he was. The story was that he was trying to make his way to see my mother, and And on the way, he had proper paperwork or whatnot, but they killed him anyways.
Wow.
Yeah. And then my youngest sister, I'm the youngest now. I had a younger sister who was born after me. I was born in 73. She was probably born 75 or whatever it is. So, again, my mom was already starving. She's dying herself. And so the sister lived for maybe a month or so.
Wow.
You want me to drop another bomb?
If you're comfortable with it. I mean,
yeah. I was supposed to be aborted as well. My mom, her goal was to abort me as well.
This is before the revolution, or?
No, just during, because 73 was right in the mix of it.
Okay.
75 was toward the end, late 70s. So she was in a difficult situation as well. I mean, we're already in a difficult situation.
Right,
so.
right.
Not to go to the conversation of abortion, but just kind of lay it out there for you to have things to play with. So, yeah. So my mom's like, again, like.
But she saw like things are going south. Like it was more of a like things are getting really bad. Like she was aware of it.
Yeah.
Before you were born. Like it wasn't just okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation of itself. That was, again, she was just thinking that was what was best.
Yeah.
Right? When all the stuff she took, the Eastern medication and whatnot, herbs and whatnot didn't work. And, she just said, well, if he's going to live, then let him live. So
she went on to have your sister.
My sister
and then her
came,
greatest fear happened. She lost her oldest and youngest. How many you have any remaining siblings, or?
Currently, my mom has 6 children still alive.
Okay. Wow. And you said your mom was starving. What, did she make it, or?
My mom made it. My parents made it.
And how did you guys survive? How did you escape? I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, keep on digging. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to share. In short, we were again in the township and made to work, and you're starving. And my brother, my oldest brother now, second oldest brother, just said, I think that's the way to a road of some sort. And we're in the jungle, so they started making plans for maybe a couple weeks or so, gathering what we had. We had very little to gather, so one night, they just made it a run for it through the jungles, literally. And so we ran through the jungles for days and weeks and months, whatever it is, to finally, find a road to get on. And then, the journey, the exodus, you connect with other people who are making the exodus. But a lot of people died along the way, starvation and dehydration and all that. Yeah. It gets pretty hot in Cambodia.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Were you 4 still or 5 at the time?
Yeah.
So right away. So you just thought your family's going camping. Were you aware that something bad was happening? I can't imagine you can't process that as a 5-year-old. I
didn't kind of process a 5-year-old. I remember a few things. Well, I knew bad things were happening.
Yeah.
Even younger than that. One of the things I do remember was the whistling of missiles coming down and hitting the ground and earth shaking. So that was, again, months and months before we were in the camp. And my family built a 3-foot bunker or so, just dig into the dirt. So I remember being picked up as a young baby in the middle of the night, and being laid down in deep earth. So those are the smells and moments I do remember as a very young child.
And was your whole family together through this, or was your dad around? Was your other siblings around?
Yeah, so my dad was around. Most of my siblings were around. The only 2 that were not was my oldest brother, like as I mentioned, and then my older sister, who was married and was living in another town.
She was able to survive?
She was able to survive, coming to America on a separate route.
Okay. And then, so you're in the jungle for like about a month until you get to a road. And where do you escape from to go to another country, or?
Our goal was to get to the border of Thailand.
Okay.
And in Thailand, they had their refugee camp, and we're there for months and months and months. That was probably like 6 months, a long time.
And what was that like, a refugee camp? If you could remember.
Yeah. You're just sitting there every day, surviving every day. I get images. Obviously, from other refugee photos and situations. You're just sitting there eating off of the food. What I do remember is they would make big pots of rice and whatnot, or porridge, and so they never really clean out the pot, and so after a while the rice is just kind of old, sour rice. So yeah, that's a taste that I do not enjoy. So I don't like porridge anymore.
It's good reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that, and you're just sitting around waiting, to live or die.
And then, and then eventually you get the green light to come to America, or what happens?
Yeah, my uncle and my aunt was here already, and somehow I think they helped us, to get sponsored, with an American family and whatnot. We got sponsored. We went to San Diego. That's where they're at. Yeah, and then eventually we were able to get over here.
And how old are you when you came to America?
Let's see. I was probably 6.5, 7 now.
So
Yeah,
a couple
73,
2 years,
1980.
2, 3 years.
Yeah, I got here in 1980, 79, 80.
Wow. And then what was the culture shock like? I mean, you talk about a kid trying to just adapt to a new school district, but just the kid who just experienced genocide survival and then come into sunny California where people don't have a care in the world. Like, what was that like?
That was. You're just being shuffled here and there, and did whatever you're told. My personality and my voice was just suppressed or stunted. Didn't really know how to express myself. So yeah, that was what I was feeling. You just get shuffled around, go here, go there. You don't know any better. Yeah, I mean, we were glad to finally be in a safe place to some degree, and so we're scrapping to survive. You know, we discovered dumpsters. So and aluminum was a value back then. So we would dumpster dive for aluminum cans, and you go and sell it and make a few bucks here and there. So that was a positive thing for us, just having that opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did your family adapt? Like, no English at all, no job. You were eventually able to kind of figure it out and
yeah,
no longer have to dumpster dive, or
yeah, dumpster dive. I mean, we probably had some type of government support to some degree, just to get by. We were in San Diego back then, and then eventually, my mom, being the mother, and the loving and thoughtful and forward-thinking mother that she is, she discovered that there was an a Chinese. We're a certain dialect. There's different dialect of Chinese, so I'm like Chuchao. So she realized that there was a Chuchao speaking doctor over here in Chinatown in LA. So we're in San Diego for 6 months. So eventually we made our way to Los Angeles, and so well, I'll kind of share everything. We're going left and right here. I'm sure we had government support, welfare, and all that stuff, right? But they were working still. We were in the sweatshop business, so they learned how to sew and put themselves through the grind, making extra money there. Yeah, so you just hustle.
yeah, it's just survival.
Survival, yeah.
Anything that, what were some of the horrific things that you saw? Do you remember it? Do you suppress it? I think we just can't imagine how evil, like, just genocide is. We could theoretically know numbers are really awful, right? Millions of people being eradicated, but then there's sometimes the story captures the extent of it.
Yeah. Evil exists everywhere, right? I mean, we can point our fingers at Pol Pot or this or that person. Even on the road from Cambodia to Thailand, the people were pillaging each other. They were killing each other on the road.
People who are supposed to, like, you expect the best of human nature to show up, but the opposite, right? Everyone's in survival mode.
Yeah, they're killing each other, stealing from each other. There's bandits on the road so people started swallowing their gold. or stick it whatever in their skin or whatever it is. So a lot of people died on the road there out of, again, toward the end, a lot of starvation or people just being pillaged and murdered.
Wow.
This is when you're almost at the finish line. That was one of the worst because, people were there was a lot of resources that I remember that a little bit. Like all of a sudden you see stuff strewn around. So you pick up dry fish here and there from the people who didn't make it.
Wow. And then you have a tough life in LA, but it's in comparison, it's like the best life.
Yeah.
And then it gets better. You're not like working in an LA sweatshop, and then you go to high school and then you pretty much adapt. Is that what happens, or?
So I lived in near Chinatown, Echo Park, near Dodger Stadium here. So there were a lot of us, the immigrants like ourselves. So we're getting through it together.
The community piece was there. Okay.
Yeah, the community piece was there.
The positive end of it, yeah.
Yeah. The journey on the outside, you get through what you get through, but as you get older, there's a lot of turmoil inside myself.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find peace, and the word normal was what was big for me for a long time. It was like I just didn't feel normal. I can't live and just be settled and just be okay with everyone else. Why can't I be normal? And so I had to do a lot of digging for many decades to figure out like what's going on, what's inside me. The way I used to describe it was in my sessions was I felt like I was walking around with a volcano, and just lava, inside me. So there's a lot of stuff that I needed to wrap my head around and understand, and find peace, find forgiveness. All these words, like I don't even know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that.
What was the beginning step of that process? What
was the beginning process? It's just, realizing that I didn't want this anymore. And, we'll get into spiritual conversation here, but the biggest breakthrough was when I was a believer for a number of years now, for maybe 20 years or so. I'm in my 30s, mid-late 30s now, and I've done some work, therapy, and some seminars, self-help and whatnot, right? So I've done a lot of stuff, and it got me to this place where and I understood God decently well now. So I'm not a young Christian anymore. I understand God and I understand David and how he operates. He just laid it all out. And so at this one afternoon, I just stayed home, and I knew I had ample time. It's like no one was going to come home and whatnot. So for probably 2-3 hours, so I just went at it with God. Anything I wanted to say, words, bad words. Well, I just laid it all out, and I just kept on going and going. And a couple hours into it, God just says, "Anything else?" Yeah.
So you just like let that volcano erupt, give it to God, pretty much.
Yeah, I just laid it all out. I wasn't sure, how it all worked, right, in terms of being a Christian, but at that point, I felt, God's grace. I understood how He operates, and again, I understood how he was so raw, and so I allowed myself to just go deep raw because I wanted healing and wanted, something different.
So were you saying like some of those more angry psalm prayers? What kind of prayers were you saying? Or were you just being honest about everything?
I was just being honest. I was just saying, why did you give me this life? Why did I have to go through this? Anything I felt, any grudge I had, I laid it all out to Him. Like, why did you give me this life, this situation, this dad, this, whatever it is, like I just felt it was just unfair, and this burden was kind of too heavy for me. I didn't, why'd you make me this way, and the journey I'm at, journey I'm on. So I just laid it all out. It was a coming to Jesus moment. So I said I just wanted to dump everything. I just wanted to do something different. But at the same time, I felt God was prodding me, guiding me toward it. And then the Holy Spirit, the voice was toward him, was like, what else? I mean, obviously he was taking everything, and he's willing to take more. He was,
You could handle
he could handle it. Yeah. Cast your cares on him, that type of thing. So yeah, I learned to cast it, and since then, I've been doing that.
what would be other things? Was therapy helpful? Just everything else is in addition helps? Because was there a certain like loneliness to all this? Because it's hard to like, I can't relate to what you went through. Like I just know stories, but like there must be like a loneliness to this healing journey, right?
Yeah, I think underneath it, what I get the point I would probably try to make is that, I went through a lot of therapy. I went through a lot of seminars, and it just came to a point where no one's going to be able to handle my lava. It was just too crazy, too much. They say go lean on friends. Friends don't understand. It just wasn't. It just didn't work anymore. It wasn't enough anymore. I did all that stuff. It just wasn't enough anymore. And so to spiritualize, like only God can handle, the level of frustration and pain and anger. Only he, the only therapist that could handle it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understood that.
And just to theologize this a bit more, when we talk about the Christian God, we're not talking about, just God in the up sky. We're talking about Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Who
I did grew as a Buddhist background.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
no, but I say that because the Christian faith literally says God identifies with our suffering, and He did in the person of Jesus with the crucifixion and death, and it's not just some abstract understanding of with God. It's actually in the flesh as well.
Yeah.
You have His all-knowing power, but at the end of the day, like throwing Bible verses or throwing therapeutic tactics doesn't really do what only God could do.
No.
Is what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just only when we face God face to face and being honest, authentic, going as deep as we're willing to go. He's willing to. He's willing and he can handle it. He's the only one.
Yeah.
And after that he says, it's just the word redeem. Now he started to change my song, after that moment.
So, and it went from like raw anger and frustration and the why question of the problem of evil to praise or to thanks or.
In that realm, it was, I mean, the word redemption, redeem, like he's going to use this, he's going to take this and replace it with filling of all that, I don't know what that might be. It's just a clean slate to some degree, and something special, something cool is going to come. I don't know how. I mean, I wasn't like dancing around, waiting, happy when I was like, okay, it's a new start at least. You felt like a fresh start, finally, like a real fresh start. Something different that I've never, experienced before in any therapy session. But it was clear from then and going forward, it was watch and see. Like I'm gonna redeem this. I'm gonna take, there's this mess and whatever your message. He's gonna fill me. He's gonna, I don't know. I just, and it's been a number of years, and we've been on that journey since. So I mean, you've got to know me a little bit. That my passion comes from that. The things I do. People ask me why I do so much in ministry, because I'm excited to see what the Lord's doing. I'm just, following the path and I just want to see the Spirit move around me, and I want to see the Spirit move in me, and I'm just excited to see what's gonna happen. It's like an adventure now, right? I'm going deeper into this new kind of jungle, I guess, more of a holy jungle, to discover the goodness of God and what He's going to do around me and through me. So,
All right. So redemptive suffering here, and you've been back to Cambodia. So when did you go back after all this?
yeah, that's a good question. I didn't go back till I was probably in my 30s. So it was a very interesting, weird experience because here I am for 25, almost 30 years. I was living, this story in my head of what Cambodia is like. Um, yeah. So when I went back, it was surreal in the sense that here's my imaginary world merging to my real world. Yeah, so I was sitting there flickering for a minute. It felt like everything was yellowish, whatever the expression, opaque. Um, and yeah, I was just stepping into my nightmare.
Right, right.
Not sure what was going to happen. So I was sitting there, kind of feeling a little frozen, a little bit. Yeah, that was an interesting journey.
What made you want to go back? Just
Well, I didn't want to go back for a long, long time. That's why it took me so long. I didn't really care about it. I kind of moved on and became an American type of person. Didn't have reasons to go back. I think it was I had kids. I think I had kids, young kids. My kids were young at that point. So it was just one of those things, kind of like, well, it's time to go at some point. So I was in my late 30s, whatnot, and I just want to go and maybe prepare the road before I brought my kids over later. Kind of look the evil in the eye and look at your story, your nightmares in the face, so you can kind of move on. Because at some point, I'm gonna need to bring my children into it. So, and I wanted to go before my kids to kind of get a sense.
so what was the concern for your kids?
Because there was just didn't like I don't know how I felt, that I wanted to process my feelings and my thoughts, and so
Did you find going to Cambodia be part of the healing process, or
yeah, it was a huge healing process. I was able to kind of like when you finally address a problem and you're like, it's not as bad as you thought. Maybe I should have gone back sooner, and start that healing process sooner. But again, I was living in that nightmare for many, many decades. So having going back and seeing families and cousins and whatnot, it was able to kind of bring some new equation to the mix in terms of what reality is. And all this time you're making up all these horrific stories, but seeing families, extended family, and feeling their love and life, and they're doing well. Because I thought in my mind, oh, they're still living in this war-torn environment, but seeing them kind of doing okay, getting by, it made me feel a lot better.
what is it like on the grounds? Is it like, are people concerned that, or it feels like it was distant memory, or?
When I went back 15, 20 years ago, it was fully healed. When we were going through it, again, I came in the 80s. For a decade and a half or so, through the 80s and early 90s, those militias were still in the jungles. So for a while, they're still wreaking havoc. So slowly they started dying off,
Mm-hmm.
out of old age and whatnot. And then they had some kangaroo courts here and there, and you might hear like, your enemy is your neighbor now, the guy who did whatever to you. So, but when I went back years later, it just felt like, for me, like everything went back to normal. No one talked about it. Yeah, everyone's back in the hustle of life, and it's a conversation no one talks about. They just kind of moved on, and I don't know if it's like that particular, or the area has seen a lot of wars, so they're just maybe just used to it, accept it for what it is.
Yeah. And then you're involved with some missionary work, some schoolwork there too. This is about going back to that redemptive suffering piece. What's the project you've been working on?
The Lord put this vision in my heart about 7, 8 years ago now. Maybe as I talk through it, I'll be able to understand why. I didn't have interest in going back to Cambodia, but I do like kids. I work with kids here. Maybe it's a way of healing myself as well. I mean, not doing it to heal myself, but I do enjoy it. Planting new seeds and developing a new crop, that type of thing. So, yeah, the Lord just gave me the heart to go and care for um, children, but also really not just children. My goal is really to shift society. I'm just using children or that portal to work with children. Really, I'm trying to reach the mothers and care for the mothers in showing a certain kind of respect and honor to the female society, female folks out there. People in that society tends to view women as an asset. You're married, your wife to work and clean and cook. So, I just wanted to bring a little bit of my Western, my Christian perspective and to show some care and honor to women, hopefully help shift culture as a whole, but also, with men, how they can still, be traditional, but be honoring to women in their work, and we don't have to treat them as workers and mules, for lack of a better word.
It's through education and the values, or
yeah, using education to reach women, but I just want to shift culture.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And where is your mom in all of this? Is she still around? Is she? Yeah.
My mom's blessed. God has a call in her life. Her body's broken very, very badly. You touched my mom, so it's. She's my mother's a warrior. If you don't mind me embellishing on her a little bit, going back, give you the full arc of my mother's a backbone of it all. My dad gave up on our journey to Thailand.
Was it before you came to the country, or
in that journey from when we're fleeing?
Wow.
So just to kind of give you why my mother is so revered in our community. My dad says, I can't go on anymore. Just leave me. And my mother, being a strong physically and also, her mindset, she says, we're not leaving you.
Wow.
And she says, she told the older kids, says, take your siblings, your brothers, and go ahead first. We're not leaving him, Yeah, so he was sick and dehydrated and whatnot. So you're pretty much out of juice at this point. So he says that just, any type of sustenance. So you know what, just pee in a cup. And so, yeah, she had us all pee into a container for him to drink. So he had something to carry on. So that's the type of, this is the kind of stuff we had to go through to survive and the kind of woman that she is. And to tell you a little more about that part of the.
So it was that your dad didn't make it, or he?
No, he did.
He did, but he didn't come with you to America.
No, he did. I mean, she dragged him forward.
Oh, he did come. But it was through her willpower.
Yeah.
That brought him. Okay,
it's just her fortitude. She's that kind of woman.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, wow, amazing. And then she brought the whole family over, and then
so we got to. She's very creative. She's just, again, an amazing woman. Obviously, I love her to death. She would trade. Oh man, more stories about my mom. So she would somehow, to survive, whatever we had, she would trade it for something just to get some. We had so much coconut water. We ran out of water, right? So my brother climbed whatever 20, 30 foot coconut trees to get the coconut. So we didn't have water, so we drank coconut water and made it with rice. After a while, you can't get tired of it. My mom says it's because it's not just coconut water like we have it here. It's more like very oily and whatnot, so it's hard to drink. So eventually we ran into some other folks. They're like, oh, you have coconut water, coconut, and we have this. So she's always very creative. And
started bartering,
always finding creative ways to survive. That's just the kind of woman that she is. And lo and behold, when you get to America, I don't know if she kind of talks about it a little bit. She said my dad kind of, I don't know if he's changed or he became very, very aggressive and very verbally abusive. I think he was trying to get back to his standing. You come in here, I just shared a little bit. We're dirt poor now. We're refugees, so he's trying to work his butt off to, to have standing. Money was the standing, right? And so he worked my mother to death. Again, I was saying a minute ago about how men treat women. And so my mother was, a mother, a housewife, full-time worker. So it's just, yeah. So he burned her out. He would chew her out, verbally abusive. And so one day she did leave. Luckily she came back, but she cracked, but she came back for us. So I share that because that was a little bit of effect of the war.
Of course. It's hard to process even that, what our parents were going through and how they processed this evil.
Yeah, I think she kind of expressed it here and there, seeing that probably all the stuff he's seen, all the stuff he's gone through, made him that much more aggressive and whatnot. So she doesn't fully understand. Like I felt like she said that he changed a little bit.
Yeah. Wow. So then you're going back to kind of help the country that you're from, which is quite remarkable because most people would be like, I want never to return. I don't even want to help them out. Like, bye. It's quite remarkable. But that you felt like that's the Lord's calling and was part of the healing and also kind of the redemptive arc in all of this.
Yeah, like you said, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I was happy with my life the way it is. I have, other ministries. I was doing youth work here and I'm fine with it. But the Lord just put it in my head for years and years and years and years, 7, 8 years. And so after like the third, fourth year, I said, God, if it is something you want me to do, then yeah, okay, I'll move toward it. And so things just conversation became clearer and clearer. And so we're still putting pieces together. So one of the schools we're hoping to start, it's going to be on a Buddhist temple site. That might be interesting. So I might season them by sending them books and creating a library, build a relationship, build rapport, and then slowly we'll, have some education. Teach them English.
Yeah. Very cool stuff. Final question. If you had one message to share with the church in America, what would it be?
One church. That's a loaded question. Wow. I don't know. Let me try to say it in a nicer way. Well, I was kind of saying earlier is pursue God in the whole, the idea of the burning bush, right? That God is a consuming fire. When I say pursue God in that way, that, to give him kind of everything because he's going to want everything. Go deep,
Go all in.
Go all in. Keep on. When you've gone deep, go deeper. Because he's gonna want it, and it's just there's goodness there, a lot of goodness as you go deeper and deeper, but never think that deep is deep enough. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There's always God is more than we could ever think of. God can handle more than what we think of, and God loves us infinite amount than we could ever really comprehend how much he loves us, right?
Yeah, I just think that people kind of
just stop.
I
got Jesus, I'm going to heaven, I'm good.
Right. Or they live a certain way, or they understand the gospel a certain way. Like there's so much more depth to it, and to how God operates. The hidden messages that's there.
Yeah.
We'll keep on pursuing that. Yeah. But I mean, the thing that if I can use this platform for a second, is to say that, my story, when I share my story, I don't really want to individualize my story. I have shared my story in public settings. I like to use it to connect with other people who've gone through other communities like yourself, in the Armenian community or even the Jewish community, so that way we can feel like, we're all together and we can heal together and we can encourage each other to, share and heal. So I try to use it more of a community conversation than, oh, it's about me.
No, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, brother. I'm glad you're able to have the courage to talk about this, because I know a lot of people tend to suppress the horrificness of a Holocaust or a genocide.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to talk about it so we could heal collectively. And yeah, what better way to heal as a humanity is than to just be able to talk about the biggest evil that we could do to each other.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the end of this conversation. Have a blessed week. Stay caffeinated, my friends.